to the Prophecy Club. Today we're going to be talking about what in the world is going on. First of all, the coronavirus, based upon what I'm hearing from media sources, actually is not, if you compare it to the flu and some of the other upper respiratory viruses and the other things we can, it's not all that dangerous. I mean, what the flu kills from 30,000 to 70,000 a year. So in terms of actual deaths, it's not all that dangerous, so they say. Okay, so then what's really going on? I think that it's causing a fear because it's supposed to be creating a change. So let's talk about that a second. There was a German, philosopher, I guess you'd call him. His name was Hegel, German guy, Hegel. And it's called the Hegelian dialectic. And he believed that first thing you did was cause a thesis and then an antithesis, and that would bring you to the synthesis. Okay, in plain language, in other words, you cause a problem, you offer the solution, and that solution changes society. It's the way you change a society. You create a problem, or you take advantage of a problem, as you've heard recently people say, well, never miss an opportunity to take advantage of a bad situation. Okay, so when you create a problem, you offer the solution, and then the solution changes society. So it's talking about how to change a society. So what is really going on here with the coronavirus is a big society change. Okay, well, we know that we're coming to world government. We know that the tribulation is getting very close. We know that America is probably in the early throes of an internal revolution where the Russians will attack and defeat America. But what's going on immediately? Well, based upon what Benjamin Fulford just posted upon his benjaminfulford.net website, which I may be reading in the next few days, and other prophecies that we've read on the year, apparently this big change that we've been talking about for several years now has finally arrived. Okay, so what's changing specifically? Well, specifically the world finances. The stock market is doing the same kind of crazy dips and rises that it did in 1929. So we're about to see a stock market crash. Well, I'm not a finance guy, but if I had to look at it, I'd have to say something's going on. Okay, so what's really going on from a prophetic standpoint? I believe that we're about to see a giant new financial system come in, so say the prophecies. So in 1929, there was a plot to take the money from the good and give it to the bad guys. And they were successful. However, what the prophecies say now, and again, not me saying it, what the prophecies say, we've already read them. I won't go through them again. But I think it was Steve Warren and also the guy from Australia, Neville Johnson, I think his name was. Both of them say that there's a big wealth transfer for whatever or however that is. And also, finalwakeupcall.info says that there is a new financial system coming. Well, what is that new financial system involving? If you get my book, Miss the Mark, Don't Take the Mark of the Beast, I explain that to you. The new financial system has to do with the new satellite system called Starlink, which will be tied into the new quantum computer system, which is going to be doing away with paper money, and it will all be a digital currency before too long. Also, I think what is about to happen is arrests, mass arrests. As you recall, for the last couple of years, we've been talking about these sealed indictments. The short story on that was in November the 3rd of 2017, and I'm not going to say his name here, but there was a prosecutor hired. 3 days later, sealed indictments started getting filed. And as a result, those sealed indictment count is now up to, as someone else said, is 154,000, but all I can find out right now is 151,000,002. 151,002 sealed indictments. Now, we do not know how many people that is, but it's enough to cause an internal revolution once that actually starts happening. Benjamin Fulford and other sources also confirm those arrests are now in progress, just like we've been watching for the last couple of years. So let's talk about the financial change that's coming on. Now, we've already talked about finalwakeupcall.info, but let's get to some other ones here. July 25th, 2010. My wife had a dream. She says, in my dream, Stan and I were watching a mudslide in progress. Some houses had already fallen, and we began going from house to house shouting, "You're on the edge. If you don't want to fall in the mudslide, you have to balance your house. You have to stop standing on the edge and hanging over." Only a few houses remained standing. Now, I think what the houses are represented their financial position. Then the scene changed. We were on a boat floating in mud. And I'll tell you, the mud, we believe, is the filth of the world. We were on a boat floating in the mud. There were already fish everywhere in our boat. But suddenly, fish from all directions began jumping out of the mud, meaning the world of sin, jumping out of the mud into our boat. Among them were several very large fish, meaning people that had a lot of money or used to have a lot of money. Among them were several large fish. I was holding a very unusual looking fish, which had no scales. It looked like a skinned cat. Stan asked, "What's that?" I replied, "Well, it's a fish, as if you can't see." Stan inquired, "Well, why is it so strange looking? I've never seen a fish like that before." I answered, "This fish looks like a chicken with the skin peeled off because they have nothing to protect them now. They're jumping into the boat, which represents Jesus, when their houses, represents their finances, fell in the mudslide." So the interpretation is, and she says she always prays that if the dream is actually from the Lord, he will continue speaking to her and help her to understand its meaning. She says, "I believe the mudslide is the current financial state of our nation, as well as others. By us going from house to house warning the people to get balanced and get off the edge, it was telling us that we need to be reaching more people. Prophecy Club does. By warning them to, quote, get their house balanced or in order, we are saying that you need to get finances and also you need to get saved. It's a warning many, including Christians, to stop sinning and get right with Christ, but some won't make it. The strange-looking fish were the non-believers. They came out of the world of sin, now choosing to follow Christ and jumping in the boat. The reason the fish looked like a skinned cat is because it is actually what has happened to them financially. They've had all their wealth, protection, cover, and life stripped away. It shows their nakedness. Their sin has been revealed to them, and now the only redemption is Christ and joining him. Okay, now let me go back through that dream again because I think so much of it is speaking about where we are today. We were watching a mudslide in progress. I think that's kind of what we're looking at right now, especially with the stock market and other things. We're looking at a financial mudslide in progress. Some houses have already fallen, and I think that right now some financial houses have already fallen. I mean, you look at many of the hotels, the airlines, many of those people that wait tables for a living, all of those people that their living is dependent upon them being around people. So some of those houses, we're about to see some houses start falling in the mud. Some houses have already fallen, and we begin going from house to house shouting, "You're on the edge." In other words, I think it's saying that they're not only on the edge financially, but they're also walking far too close to sin in their life. They have sin in their lives. So it says if you don't want to fall in the mudslide, you have to balance your house. You have to stop standing on the edge and hanging over. Only a few houses remain standing, meaning only a few people will remain standing after this great financial shaking. Then the scene changed. We were on a boat floating in the mud. There were already fish everywhere in our boat, meaning we've already led a lot of people to the Lord. Suddenly fish from all directions began jumping out of the mud, or the world of sin, into our boat. So many people in the trouble ahead, and I think the trouble has arrived. I think right now we're about to, I turned to someone the other day and I said, I believe their eyes are starting to come open. Okay, because right now they can't watch their basketball. Many of the things, they can't go to the bars. They can't entertain themselves so much. So they're already sort of being forced to look at their own heart. And I believe that is going to start getting the people to say, you know what, maybe I need to turn to Christ. Maybe I need to start going to church, or maybe I need to go back to church. So there are already fish everywhere in our boat. Suddenly, fish from all directions began jumping out of the mud into our boat. Among them were several very large fish. So a lot of people are about to lose a lot of money. I was holding a very unusual-looking fish which had no scales. It looked like a skinned cat. And, of course, the point is here, some people are about to be skinned alive financially. A lot of people that have a lot of money, and they've been counting on their money, and they've stood on their money, and their money is their house. Their money is their foundation, yet the mudslide begins and their finances fall in the mudslide, like the parable says, that some people built their house upon the sand, and when the wind blew and when the rains came, great was the fall of their house. Others built their house upon a rock, as in Jesus, and the rains came and the winds blew, but their house stood. So it's saying, brothers and sisters, right now, we're in the midst of a great change. Right now, let's stop and talk about that in another way. As many of you know, we have been a supporter of Heaven's Harvest for a long time. In other words, I called him the other day, and he has been so kind as to reserve an entire shipment, an entire 18-wheel truckload just for Prophecy Club people. Now, I talked to him Friday, and he was amazed, amazed at how many people had already placed orders for it. He said, I think it will probably be gone in a few days. But I said, so do you have some more ordered? He said, yes, I do. I said, how long does it take for the next shipment to get in? He said, 4 or 5 weeks. All right, well, I just tried to get a hold of him. I couldn't get a hold of him. So we're going to assume at this point the first shipment is still available. And here's how you get it. You go to heavensharvest.com, and then in order to get your free heirloom seeds, you put in the promo code STAN, S-T-A-N. I don't know where they came up with that, S-T-A-N. So that you go to heavensharvest.com, and you put in the promo code STAN. Now, what do they have? They have all kinds of emergency supplies. But the main thing you will look at is food, because they have the food in like 5-gallon square stackable buckets so that they will easily stack up wherever you want to. And we suggest you do not put them someplace where it's real hot or where it's real cold. You want to keep it in, well, kind of like as in a place inside your house. But what is in this? Well, if you'll go there, it'll explain it to you. But essentially, 3 of those buckets, if you get the right buckets, and the website explained all that to you, what you need to do. Basically, 3 buckets will feed one person for a month. Now, at least you need to have a month's worth. I can tell you right now, you need to have a month's worth. But in my opinion, I recommend everybody have at least a year's worth of long-term storage food. Because just like we've seen right now, you go to the grocery stores and there's a lot of empty shelves. A lot of empty shelves. Now, we saw Trump get on there with all these high-powered business owners saying, yeah, we're going to stock shelves. We're going to stock. Okay, great. And we'd be happy when all the shelves are all stocked. But Leslie just got back from the grocery store in our area, and they're not restocked yet. Matter of fact, we haven't been able to buy any toilet paper for a week now. And I think you probably agree. Now, what does all that mean? That means that it's probably past time for you to get some long-term emergency storage food. Now, you know, I'm not a real big fan on trying to survive the tribulation here in America. But I'm also not a real good fan of starving to death either. Even Leslie and I, we have some of this heavensharvest.com food. We have it in a storage bin that is within walking distance to our house. So if we had to walk there and get food, we could walk there, get the food, and come back. And we have water filters. All of that is available at heavensharvest.com. Just put in the promo code STAN. So I recommend you have at least a month. But that's really not enough. A month's food for every person in your family. What you should have is at least a year's worth of food for every person in your family. That way, when the store shelves don't fill up or they are empty, you will at least have food. Okay, so let's go on to the next point I wanted to make. Another thing that is apparently in the early phases of happening, which we've also been talking about, we've been talking about this, well, I guess this would be 7 years now. Because July the 10th of 2012, we had Pastor Shane Warren come into the Prophecy Club and make a DVD called Storm, Judgment, and Revival. It's available at prophecyclub.com. You can watch it instantly at watchprophecyclub.com, which I have to say, that's the best deal. I mean, $20 a month, you can watch like 300 DVDs anytime you want to. $20 a month, $200 a year, $6,000 worth of videos. You can't beat that. Watchprophecyclub.com. Okay, so anyway, July 10th, 2012, he comes in. Now, this is the summarized version of what he said. He said he saw in this vision a hurricane spreading across America. Now, it wasn't a storm like rain and winds. He said, I saw in the news report in the eye of the storm, reached down and picked up a fistful of dollar bills and said, it's raining dollar bills. It's almost like they're worthless. Okay, that's a key. Worthless dollar bills. Could that be what we're going to see in the next few weeks to a few months? Highly probable. It's raining dollar bills. It's almost like they're worthless. They're worthless. It was raining worthless dollars. Now, in the middle of that storm, that's a key. Not after the storm, but in the middle of the storm, the scene changed back to the anchor. Another tragedy has just hit America. The New Madrid Fault in the heartland of America has just had a major earthquake, and I heard a booming voice speak from behind me saying, they have divided my land, now I will divide their land. In the vision, I knew that he was speaking about Israel, specifically Jerusalem. All right, hang on, hold on. Let's talk about that a second. As you recall, January 22nd of 2006, Leslie heard the audible voice of God speak to her and gave her 7 headlines or 7 signs leading to the fall of America. This is the order I think that they will be fulfilled. Omer ushers in Palestinian state. I'll read through them one time, and then we'll come back because there's a couple of points I got to make here. Omer ushers in Palestinian state. Catastrophe hits America, one of America's greatest times of need. Israel refuses help to America. Israel has attacked America, sends troops. Chaos reigns as Americans protest help to Israel. Then she heard my voice quoting Dimitri Duduman, the fall of America will start with an internal revolution started by the communists. Now, it was June the 14th of 2008. I set up an 18-city speaking tour. Part of what I was talking about is our goal to find oil in Israel. And after I got done speaking in Amarillo that night, I can remember very specifically, and I prayed as I do every night. And part of what I said was, Lord, it's not going so good. I hope you're pleased with us, because we're spending $3,500 per seat in advertising. There's not many people showing up, not many people getting saved. Well, that night I heard the audible voice of God speak to me, and it said, Stan, I will give you the money to drill the well in Israel, unquote. Now, anytime I say that, I also have to give you a disclaimer. I cannot guarantee that we're ever going to get the money or drill or hit oil in Israel. So now with a disclaimer, we'll go on. Also that night, and this is what I call the eternity voice, where it seemed like time just moved out of the way. Also, the eternity voice said that same night, which I don't generally talk about this, but it said, when those prophecies that I gave your wife, that's exactly the way he said, exactly the words, when those prophecies I gave your wife begin to come to pass, people from all directions begin to turn and listen to your ministry. What are the prophecies? These are the prophecies. Now, let me explain the first one. Omer ushers in Palestinian state. Now, the problem is she heard those words said. She didn't see the text, so we don't know what Omer is. Well, there's 49 days between first fruits and Passover. That's called the counting of the Omer, which is an instrument of measure. There's also Ehud Omer, which used to be a temporary prime minister for Israel, and he is working feverishly trying to bring in a Palestinian state. So we do not know if it's Omer, as in the 49 days between first fruits and Passover, or if it has to do with Ehud Omer. We don't know. But the point is, if we were to start hearing more about this push to give the Palestinians a state, and right now I believe that there's a high probability that our dollar is heading toward becoming worthless. That's what the prophecies say. I'm just a reporter. I didn't write the stuff. I didn't write any of this. I'm just reporting. So apparently this storm is apparently going to get worse, so much so that our dollars are going to be worthless. Then in the middle of that storm, our land is divided because we divide Israel. Now let's go on back to Shane Warren, what he said. This is all really important stuff here. So then he said the scene changed for the third time. I was taken to a room in the Middle East, and I saw India, Syria, Indonesia, Turkey, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Egypt, Russia, and China were all working together in the same room, discussing how to devalue the dollar of America by buying oil, listen carefully, by buying oil with another currency. They agreed to finally sell oil for gold. What just happened to oil? What just happened to oil? They're talking about $30 a barrel oil, and I heard one person say maybe even $5 a barrel oil. $5 a barrel? That's I think it's, or how many? I think there's 30 gallons, if my memory serves me right, 30 gallons to a barrel of oil. Even $30 for a barrel of oil would be unbelievable. We're talking about 20, 30, 40, 50 cents a gallon gasoline at those kind of prices. Okay, so what's going on? I believe that God is in the process of bringing these prophecies to pass. So let's go on here. So they agreed to sell oil for gold. And they said, we will flush the market with dollars and drive the value of the dollar down. I saw drastic drops in the value of the dollar. We are seeing drastic drops in value of oil. If you'll back up here just a second, if you'll look at what we've been telling you over the last 5 to 7 years, it looks like it's all here. December 21, 2019, headline, Muslim nations consider gold barter trade to beat sanctions. In other words, they're talking about going to sell oil for gold. Now they're talking about it. All right, now let's go on to the fourth point of Shane Warren's stream. He says, the devaluing of the dollar caused major rioting in the streets. I saw silver, not gold, begin to drastically increase in value. I saw riots break out in major cities all across America. I saw signs, and on the signs written, give us our entitlements. Give us our entitlements. I saw violence in the streets whenever these different things are lost because there's not enough money to keep up the subsidies. Now, here's the good news. At the same time, I saw the church arise with healing in their wings for this moment. I saw God prospering many, acquiring things, and a great transfer of wealth. Remember what we said at the beginning of this broadcast? Remember what finalwakeupcall.info said, that there's in the process of a wealth transfer, a new financial system being set up? Sounds to me like it has arrived. We're in the early phases, but it has arrived. A transfer of wealth coming into the hands of believers. Churches became cities of refuge. Let me say it again. Churches became cities of refuge. See, there's nothing in this prophecy that tells us to run up to the mountaintop or way out in the woods someplace or dig a hole in the ground. Churches became cities of refuge. The body of Christ stood up like a mighty sleeping giant in the earth and began to minister. People were coming to them. Signs, wonders, and miracles were poured out all over America. I saw America being shaken as the worldly couldn't go to the government for help. Well, what did the first dream that Leslie had just say? Same thing. I saw America being shaken as the worldly couldn't go to the government for help anymore. They had to return to the church for help. Entire cities became cities of refuge. See, that's what we're doing with this crusade. sevenfoldmiraclecrusades.com. Go there today and get signed up. Be sure and get the meal package. And by the way, stay at the Hyatt. Don't stay at another hotel. Get the meal package. Stay at the Hyatt. Now, the whole point of the Sevenfold Miracle Crusades is because not just one, not just two, but many people. Leslie and I just had lunch with an evangelist, and he said God told him 5 years ago to go put his feet on 20 different nations' soil, told him the nations. And as he was putting his feet on the soil to make proclamations and certain declarations, he said that God had told him that there's a great move of God coming to the earth. Well, there you go. Same thing we've been saying. I'm sitting here having lunch with this guy, and he says this, my teeth almost fall out, and I have real teeth. Another confirmation. I saw America being shaken as the worldly couldn't go to the government anymore. They had to go to the church for help. Entire cities became cities of refuge. Look, brothers and sisters, if you want to be part of that, you get yourself to this Sevenfold Miracle Crusade. You get yourself there. Oh, I don't have the money. Well, guess what? God does. What you have to do is pray and fast and ask God to provide the money. And then don't be surprised, but what it shows up just like you ask. Look, if you're listening to this broadcast, you're supposed to be at that crusade. You're supposed to be there because what we're going to do is teach you how to give an answer concerning Bible prophecy, and Leslie can teach you his school of the prophets so you can walk in sevenfold miracles. There was life, safety, peace, and the presence of God in the cities. Cities, not countryside, cities, not the woods, not in the mountains someplace. People were running to the cities. Revival had arrived. It was a two-sided coin. As judgment hit, so did God's miracle revivals. As great inflation caused, oh, listen to this, as great inflation caused an economic storm, great revival arrived. God will raise up his church. He also said there's a 400-year judgment cycle, and America's judgment arrives in 2020. Say it again. America's judgment arrives in 2020. America's judgment arrives in 2020. What year is this? When are we having the sevenfold miracle crusade? Brothers and sisters, we are having this, I think, at the perfect time. I think that, see, I've been saying all the time, I said, look, God told me, as the judgment hits, so are my miracles. Now, we don't know if the virus is judgment. We don't know if the arrest is judgment. We don't know if the financial fall of the dollar, we don't know. I don't know what judgment is, but God does. And so it's a high probability, can't guarantee it, but it's a high probability we could see sevenfold miracles at this crusade. So when you hear about coronavirus, say, hallelujah, miracles are coming. When you hear about the finances going up and down, the stock market crashing, all this stuff, say, hallelujah, judgment's coming. So that means the miracles are coming. In the natural, you still need to prepare. If you do not have long-term emergency food, again, we've got a whole shipment that has been earmarked just for Prophecy Club people. And by the way, most of the people that are offering long-term storage food, they're out. And they are backed up, not just 4 to 6 weeks. They're backed up for 2 or 3 months to get your order. But we have it, at least at last talk, at least Friday afternoon, we had it. We had a shipment of it. And here's how you get it. You go to heavensharvest.com, heavensharvest.com, and you enter the promo code STAN, S-T-A-N. That helps us. That also gets you some heirloom seeds for free. heavensharvest.com. My suggestion, at least a month's supply, which is 3 buckets for every person in your family. That's a minimum. But you really ought to plan to get at least a year for every person in your family. 5-gallon square buckets, stack them. Maybe you'll never need them. But come on. We prophecy students, we know we're going to need them. We know we're going to need them here pretty soon. And by the way, don't just think about yourself. You got to think about the neighbors, people at church. How many other people are going to be starved to death? And you're going to give them that food. You'll give it to them. You're not going to hoard it. But then God is going to bring miracles and multiply it just like he did the 5 loaves and 3 fishes. Sevenfoldmiraclecrusades.com. Get signed up, stay at the Hyatt, and get the meal package. Then go to heavensharvest.com, heavensharvest.com. Enter the promo code STAN. In my new book, Miss the Mark, I expose the 9 deceptions the beast will use to deceive, if it were possible, even the very elect. Since Lucifer is only given 3.5 years to rule the world, but given 6,000 years to prepare for it, is it possible he has set up a 9-point plan so well thought out, so cunning, will deceive all whose name is not written in the book of life? What would you do if you had to tell a person the most important thing in the world, but you knew they wouldn't believe you? What would you do? Would you tell them? I believe you would. But what is the most important thing in the world to tell a person? The answer is, don't take the mark of the beast, because those taking the mark do not get soul death, but eternal torment in hell. But how do you tell them? Give them miss the mark. It is designed to be given to anyone, even if they've never heard of the Bible, Jesus, even if they're in another religion. It takes them from a blank page to making sure they will never take the mark. It's thin and easy to read. 1 for 20, but don't do that. Instead, we make them available in lots of 10. 10 for 25, 20 for 40, 40 for 60. That's 1 for 20, but don't do that. 10 for 25, 20 for 40, and 40 for 60 at prophecyclub.com. That's Miss the Mark. Don't take the mark of the beast, prophecyclub.com.